Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Damola, for having me here today to be a part of this amazing summit tagged from the little I know. Even though, Damola, I don't think it's a little that you know, but let's just be modesting it. But let me start by apologizing for not being here physically. I am sincerely and deeply so sorry that I couldn't make it physically. I had made all the plans to be here with everyone, to be able to connect, engage, and be here just physically to be around lovely minds like yourselves. But I had an assignment equally as important and I had to be in Abuja. So this is me tending my sincere apologies to everyone in the room who looked forward to seeing me, because I looked forward to seeing you as well. Secondly, congratulations to my brother, my friend, one of the most amazing masters of ceremonies and comedians in Nigeria, Africa, in the world, my brother Damola Adibui. Well done for putting this together. I'm very proud of you and I'm rooting for you always. Now, I've been asked to share from the little I know about hosting. I'll talk about my story. I'll talk about something I've tagged the A to E of hosting. This is me just trying to summarize it. It doesn't give a full picture, but I've called it the A to E of hosting. I would also share what I always call the 3 R's of hosting, especially because I'm a corporate compere. So I'll be sharing from that perspective. Now, my journey, how did I start hosting? I would say that mine is a story of passion. It had nothing to do with the money, the fame, everything attached to it right now. It's strictly passion for me. My first event I hosted when I was 9 years old. Yes, 9 years old. It was my neighbor's daughter's birthday. It was a first year birthday. And I did it from a place of passion. I enjoyed it so much. They started calling me on the streets to host events as I was, I think, 8 or 9. And I did it so well. And let me tell you what I did. Back then, I'm not that old, before you start judging me. Well, back then, behind dailies, newspapers, you'd see puzzles, riddles, questions. Let me tell you this one before I go deep into the conversation. Let me ask you that you can answer it. Of course, the feedback won't be immediate, but you can just think of the answer. The question is, why was the car not allowed to play football? Because it had only one boot. Okay, that was very dry. But don't try this on stage. Just kidding. Let me tell you a bit about my story. I've always had a passion for public speaking. So if you go back to my report cards when I was in primary school, you'll see where my teachers wrote, she's done well. Maybe I came second. The times I don't come first. So when I come second or third, my teachers will write, she second position, but she can do better if she talks less. Third position, but she can do better if she talks less. And my mom used to say, you're always talking. You talk a lot. What? I guess it paid off. And I'm happy that it's actually paying off now. Now let me take you through the A to E of hosting that I've written down. And then the 3 R's, I would wrap all of that up using my story. And then I really hope this will bless someone and inspire you to go for your dreams. Because like I always say, your dreams are valid. Now, the A that I put down is, there are 2 A's, by the way. The first A is ask yourself why. Your why is so important. Why do you want to be a public speaker? Why do you want to be a presenter? Why do you want to be a corporate compere? Why do you want to be a compere in general? Why do you want to be a comedian? Is it because you have a passion for it? Is it because, I want to be famous? Is it because everyone is doing it, so it feels like the next best thing to do? Or I just want to follow the train? You must ask yourself the genuine why question. For me, like I said, it wasn't about the money, and it's still not about the money. The money is good, but it's not about the money, I promise you. It's about genuine passion for me. And so there are days where I'm tired. There are days where I'm so stressed and maybe upset about different things. But if you call me to host an event, I will show up excellently. It didn't matter, what I was going through in that instance or in that moment or at that point. Once I get on stage and I grab the microphone, it's work and I kill it. I can host 10 events in one day. Just kidding, but it doesn't matter how tired I am because my why is deeper than the surface level. So you must ask yourself that why, because there'll be days where you'll feel like giving up. I promise you, but what will keep you going is your why. So why did you start it? Why are you in this business? Why are you choosing this career path? You must ask yourself that why and answer it very authentically within yourself. The second A is appearance. And this may seem very vain, but your appearance is very important. People see you before they hear you. And I always say that a lot. People see you before they hear you. And so from when I started hosting, gradually from banking days and even post-banking. Let me just talk about post-banking. I'll come to my banking era when I was a banker, because like most of you know, I was in banking for 6 years and I said, you know what, I'm done with banking. Let me focus on this full time. Even then, when I wasn't earning a lot from hosting, I was so deliberate. I was so particular about how I appeared to my clients and to any event at all I'm called to host. It didn't matter how much I was paid. I was so deliberate about how I showed up to any event. I would never show up carelessly. My hair, you don't have to break the bank to look good. You're the one that is looking for big names. I mean, if you can afford the big names, by all means, go for it. However, if you can't afford the big names right now, you can get affordable outfits. Make sure your hair is well done. If you're packing the hair, pack it nicely. If you're going to do your makeup, do it well. Don't show up carelessly to your event, because you leave an impression in people's minds that he is such a tacky person, never shows up correct. Must everybody know they didn't pay you? No, like, you just come looking correct. And I remember that I used to pay so much attention to it, but of course, that's not all. When you pay attention to your appearance, you should also pay attention to your brain, because when you give them a show with your appearance, you almost also give them a show when you're on stage. So it's not just about the beauty of it. So man, woman, looking dapper, looking all demure, right? It's not enough to look demure to your event. It's much more than that. You must appear intelligent. So appearance is in two forms: appear smart, appear sharp, but your brain must also appear loaded when you go on stage. Once you take that microphone, let them go, wow. So it's way more than the beauty. And I'm talking to male and female, right? So it's not just to have a nice looking suit, best blazer. You must come correct when you get on that stage. I've spoken to you about the 2 A's, which is you must ask yourself the genuine why question. And the second A is your appearance. Make sure you always show up correct. You don't have to break the bank, like I said. Show up looking put together. Show up with nice fragrance. Make sure your breath is well, it's fresh. Not that you just show up and everybody's like, please don't say a word to us. Please pay attention to your appearance, and not just appearance in terms of looks, but appearance in terms of when you speak. Make sure you're speaking with wisdom. Now, the B part of it is be deliberate and be intentional about creating opportunities for yourself. No one is going to, people are not going to give you the chance or the platform if you don't show what you're capable of. And I always say this to my mentees, that you must create opportunities for yourself. When they say, if you don't bring it to the table, you bring your own table. And I did that a lot growing up. Even when I was in secondary school, I attended a Catholic secondary school, Review Girls High School. When we have mass, which is what we call service in Pentecostal churches now, there's the first reading and the second reading. I would make sure that I get on one of those readings, once in a while. We'll have, maybe you're supposed to do one once a term, but I'll make sure at least 3, 4, 5 times every term, I ask the chapel captain to put me on that list, just so that I can practice my pronunciation, practice reading in public, practice just public speaking. Also, because my principal was so strict on pronunciations, you cannot afford to mispronounce a word. She'll make you transcribe that word 1,000 times. And you better not mispronounce it again, because she'll make you write a letter to her, a transcribed letter to her. Anyway, so I learned that, and I was always showing up, just asking them, please put me on the list, I want to read. People used to run away from it, and I was like, no, why would I run away from this that gave me so much joy? So you see, it wasn't even about the money. They were not paying for that. I was a secondary school. I wasn't even thinking money. It's just that I had a passion for this, and I always wanted to do it. So when I got to Covenant University, I joined drama team. I joined everything that made me speak. I was in every of those clubs. Now, fast forward to banking. I was a banker for 6 years, like most people, and I think I already talked about that. The first time someone spotted me, coordinating an event, an informal event, it was someone's birthday on my floor. I was in credit risk management at the time. It was a general manager's birthday, and a senior manager came and said, and I think I was barely 3 months old in the bank. And I told myself I was going to be so quiet, nobody will know me. But when you have a passion for something, you can't really hide it. So he came, I remember Soji said, let's go sing for Joe in his office. So we had an open office, an office of about maybe 100 people. Soji then asked who was going to coordinate when we got to Joe's office. Soji at the time was a senior manager. I looked at everyone, nobody was singing it. I'm like, okay, I raised my hand. People were shocked because I'd barely spent maybe 3 months or max 4 months in the bank. We got to Joe's office. I was coordinating, okay, you speak, you don't speak, you come up next, you sing. And it was beautiful. Everybody had a good time. They were laughing. When I go back to my desk, they were like, wow, this girl, you don't look like you can talk. You're very quiet, but they gave us a show. And I was like, I had to give you guys a show. Anyways, from then on, I started to volunteer for little things, as little as is a GM's birthday, it's an ED's birthday. I would always show. People started to notice me in the bank, of course, because you can't do that kind of a thing and people won't notice you. So people also always said, oh, she's so forward, she's everywhere. My darling, I knew what I was working on. So you must again know your why. Why are you doing it? Because if you're doing it for the show or for the fame of it, you would get sad or tired when people start to talk at you, because people were saying, she's everywhere. But I was then going everywhere in the bank. People would call me from other departments, come and host something for them, no matter how informal. Then Accelerate TV was set up and they called for auditions for in-house VJs. Of course, I was there to audition. I mean, it wasn't like I got on the platform, but I had to audition and show myself worthy for that role. And we were a lot of people. I doubted myself, I'm not going to lie, because there are people who had accents, people who came from America, came from the UK, but I was chosen. They needed a male and a female, and I was the female that was chosen. I was so happy, and I always showed up for red carpet events to do interviews with executives of the bank. And that's how I started to build my career. So even when I was in banking, I used to be called the banker with a mic. And I really love that title, by the way. My point is, wherever you find yourself, in your church, in my church, I do announcements. I still do announcements till today. I volunteer for the media department. I'm an usher primarily, but I make sure that media team, we're doing it together. So people actually think I'm primarily in media, when in actual fact, I'm an usher primarily, but I do a lot of things for the church. My point is, even in your mosque, in your church, anywhere you find yourself, volunteer, create platforms for yourself. When I started hosting for the bank, I always put it out on my social media page. That's another conversation entirely, using social media to market yourself. People must see what you're capable of so they can trust you. So I put it out, no matter how small, and I put it in quote because there's really no small event, no matter how small or big the event was at the time, I'll put it out and say, I did this for the bank, I hosted this for the bank, and I always did it with so much joy. It wasn't because the bank was paying me, they weren't paying me. And in actual fact, I was happy they didn't even pay me there so that I didn't get carried away with the money. I mean, you can say I had my salary, which is fair, so I wasn't chasing the money at the time, but I'll do it with all joy. And I started to make sure that I did my primary assignment. I was in credit risk management, so I would do everything, approve all the loans diligently before I go host for the bank. So the bank would take me to different states. I was having a ball and I enjoyed it. So from posting my work on social media, even though it was banker with a mic work, other brands started to reach out to me, and I was like, wait, this is a thing. Because like I said, this was from a place of passion, genuine passion. I had my salary, yes, so let's just put that aside. But from a place of genuine passion, I'll do these things and then I would post it on my page and people would say, oh, well done, banker with a mic, you're an MC, you're a banker, how are you combining it? And I was just having fun. Honestly, it had nothing to do with trying to be famous. When I look back now, I'm so grateful for the bank and how they allowed me to shine and all the platforms they created for me and that I created for myself. So my point is, make sure you're looking for opportunities for yourself. People are only going to trust you. And I'm hammering on this because sometimes we are just waiting for opportunities to come to us. You go out and look for the opportunities. I remember reaching out to someone, I'm not going to call his name, about 6 years ago, and I still had the DM asking to host his red carpet for his show for free. I was begging, following up every single day. He didn't come through with it, and that's okay. I think maybe he was busy or whatever, for whatever reason, but I didn't give up. So no matter the no's you get, so I'm already going into other topics, but I'm just saying, no matter the amount of no's you get, you must know your why. You must know what you want for yourself and you must never give up. So whatever platform you're able to get, reach out to people. Can I do this for you? Even if you don't pay me, I want to do it. Because by the time you put it on your page, you won't put, I hosted the 7th annual conference of these people, but they didn't pay me. No. By the time you put it out and brand it, people are like, oh, she was able to do that. And you become top of mind for people who are watching. Even if you post and they don't engage it, people see your post. People are watching, people watch it and they don't like, they don't comment, and that's okay, but just drop it there. And I always say this, host it and post it. Host it and post it. No matter how small, every platform is a platform. And I always say this also to people who I get to interact with quite often. I used to do a lot of weddings when I was in banking, and weddings because I worked Mondays to Fridays in the bank, and Saturdays and Sundays were the only times I got to be free, if I'm not on leave or vacation. So I'll do weddings, but even though they were weddings, I'll show up correct. I would do my research. In fact, I had a link, and I always share this every time. I had a link that I created, a Google link, where I ask the bride and groom all the questions before the day. I don't want to be meeting them. Oh, what's the name of the chairman? I know the chairman already. I know his state of origin. I know what he does. I know the links to the parents. I know every single thing I should know about the family for the wedding. So you have to also be thorough, because if you can't be a shabby and very nonchalant person if you're going to be doing this work, because it shows when you're on stage. You can't be calling, the groom a different name when his name is Obila. You're calling him Obiora. You must know everything, know where they're from, know the little details that will help you to look excellent and be excellent when you come on stage. Like I was saying, so I used to do lots of weddings when I started out, and I made sure that even at the weddings, I was excellent. Guess what? The people who come for weddings are corporate people. They're entrepreneurs. They have their businesses. The family members who come. So somebody can have an uncle who is MD of some big company, of some multinational, and you never know. So I didn't think that, because it's wedding, I'll just do it anyhow. Anytime I showed up, I made sure that I showed up correct. I wasn't going to take it for granted that I had a platform. My guidance scripture, I'm Christian and I'm very proud of it. My guidance scripture is Colossians 3:23, which is, whatsoever you do it heartily as unto the Lord, knowing that of the Lord you will receive your reward. So every time I got a platform, I knew that it was God who gave me that platform, right? And so I never showed up carelessly. I was very deliberate about how I showed up to my events. So I was talking about being deliberate about showing up and creating opportunities for yourself. So ask people, reach out, look at events coming online and say, oh, can I do this for you? It's okay if you don't. You don't have to say they shouldn't pay you, but if they say that you don't have a budget for it, go host it by yourself. You can you can recycle your clothes if you don't have the money to. Don't limit yourself pretty much. If you don't have the money to buy a new dress or a new outfit, just package yourself in a way that is appealing to the people that you're going to serve. So that's on B, being intentional about creating opportunities for yourself. C is connections are so vital. They are so important. You can't take connections for granted. And when I say connections, people automatically assume, you must network, upwards. I network across board. So I'm networking with my peers, with younger people, older people, because I know people always focus on networking with older people, older accomplished people, because you assume that they're the ones that have all the access. Even with drivers, I'm connecting with them because you don't know who can put in a word for you. So you have to be kind to people. You have to make sure you're building networks that you might not need right now, or you'll need in the future. I'm very big on networking. And networking is not even just when you go somewhere. Create opportunities for yourself to network. So when you hear there's a conference and it's free, go to that conference, go and meet people. Don't just sit in your house and be waiting for magic to happen. You create your own magic by being present and just showing up at places. And I'm not saying burnout and just wear and be everywhere at the same time, but just map out a strategy for yourself and know how to build those connections. Connect with everybody that is possible to connect with. I shared a screenshot of me, disturbing and harassing Ike Sakudua, who is now my mentor and my friend, to mentor me at the time. And when I look back, every time I saw Ike at an event, I always had an update for him. So yes, I'm harassing Ike to mentor me. But when I go back home and he had not agreed to mentor me, I will go work on myself so that by the time I come again, I'm telling him, I've done this and this since the last time you saw me. So even if you're telling people to mentor you and they're not available to mentor you, make sure you are creating opportunities for your own self to grow. Everyone wants to be linked to greatness. So make sure you're not the same person that you were yesterday. So even if you're learning a new word, a new technique, go and watch videos. There's so many materials online, right? So connect not just with people, but connect with not just with people physically, but connect with people even virtually. Watch people, watch their style, watch how they deliver on their work, watch how they present. I like that I touched on connecting with people's styles because it takes me to my next point, which is D. I've talked on A, B, and C. The D is define your style. You have to be authentic. Yes, you're connecting with people's styles, but you as a person, make sure you define your own style and don't try so hard to be like someone else. You can learn from people. You can observe people, admire them, love the work they do, but you as a person must be authentic to yourself and define your style. Let me share a story with you. I remember hosting an event one day and I thought I was killing that event. So we had a quick break, I think it was dinner time, and I saw one of my mentors, way older mentor in the crowd, and I went to greet him and I was like, how am I doing? I just wanted to hear feedback. And he said, you're doing okay, but you sound a little nervous. I hated that feedback so much. Then I went back to think, why am I sounding nervous? And I figured out that I had watched someone so much that I was now trying to sound like this person. So I switched things up and I said, you know what? I'm going to be myself and I'm going to speak the way I speak. And I went back off stage and I took charge of that stage and I commanded the stage. Afterwards, my mentor came and said, so what changed? And I couldn't really tell him that, I was trying to copy somebody. So don't copy anyone. Take traits from people. I'm not saying don't learn from people. Learn from people, observe them, but you must define your own style, right? I remember also co-hosting with someone who is a broadcaster and he had all the accents in this world. In fact, I was like, hey, although people will say this one is not speaking properly. But after the event, some person, a very distinguished person in this country, walked up to me. I was so shocked. And he said, I love the way you speak. There I was thinking I wasn't speaking well. What is most important is that you are articulate, you are eloquent, you pronounce your words very clearly. I'm always checking the dictionary for the right pronunciation of words. I make sure that I don't mispronounce words. I don't have an accent and I would never try to force or form one, but I'm authentic to my style of presentation. I'm authentic to my style of speaking, and I would never try to copy somebody else. I would learn from people, but I would define my own style and stick to it. So I've talked on asking yourself the genuine why question. I've also asked you to be very intentional about your appearance, physically and mentally, because you must be sound. C is connections are important. Make sure you're connecting with people. D, define your style. And the E of it is enjoy the days of little beginnings. And I always say this because most times I have people in my DM, they want to do the big events. I'm like, the big events are good, but nobody started by hosting the big events. Everybody grew. Well, I grew. Let me talk about my story. I grew into this big event. I had events that were seemingly little, but from those seemingly little events, I've met bigger clients. So every time I show up correct. It doesn't matter if there were 10 people in the room or 1,000 people. I deliver excellently at all times. So make sure you enjoy those days and talk about yourself. Make sure you're marketing yourself. Enjoy those days. Post those things because of this event, there were only 10 people. I'm not going to post it. You better post it and show off what you're able to do because that's how people are going to believe in you. And you don't know who is watching. Different people are watching you. Your consistency, your authenticity in showing that you're even enjoying those little events, seemingly little events. Like I said, I put it in quotes because there's really no small event. Every event is a platform to showcase what you're capable of doing. You don't know who is sat in that room, who is listening to you and admiring you. Let me share a story with you. I was hosting an event, I think 2 years ago, it was February, and it was a hybrid event. It was just maybe not too long after COVID. It was hybrid. There were people watching online. Someone was not in the room. He said he had just seen the email and the link to join virtually. And I was like, let me just click and see what's happening with this event. And that was the moment I came off stage again. I'd been hosting the event and I came up, introduced someone or did something. And he's like, who is this girl? She was only there for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And he booked me for another event, which was in another state and a way, way, way bigger event. What is my point? Anytime you are able to show up or anytime you have the chance or the opportunity to show up, make sure you show up correct because you don't know who is watching and who will watch it. He was only there for maybe less than 10 minutes as a matter of fact. But the moment he saw me, he sent a message to the organizer and said, can I have this girl's contact? We have an event coming up in this state and one has to do it. And that's how I got that gig. He didn't know me from anywhere. He had never heard of me or never seen me. If I'd assumed that there are only a few people in this room, let me just appear anyhow. That's how he would have thought of me anyhow. Just said, who is this girl? But his question was, wow, who is this girl? So anytime you get to show up, make sure you show up correct. Whether it's in church, I've gotten gigs from church. I do things for my church. So when we have special celebrations, Easter, Christmas, I do things in church and I'm hosting. And people see me and I've gotten quite a number of things from church recommendations. People just saying, oh, we want her to do things for us and for my company. Because again, like I said, be it weddings, be it church, be it your friend's baby shower, bridal shower, anything at all you're hosting, your friend's birthday, 30th party, anything at all. Make sure you always show up correct and enjoy the days of little beginnings. I shared with you the A to E of hosting. I hope this has helped someone some way or somehow. Now, the 3 hours I talked about, as a corporate compare, you cannot joke with these 3 hours. I have a video on my page and it's pinned, and I talked about how I'm a corporate compere and I do certain things. You can go watch that video. Secondly, and this is for the 3 hours now, the 3 hours are you read, you research, and you rehearse. You read, you research, and you rehearse. As a corporate compere, you cannot afford to show up without reading and researching and rehearsing. You must read about your clients. You must read about their company. You must read about their subsidiaries. You must be willing to learn. Again, your why will determine how much you're able to put in, because my why is I always want to deliver an excellent event. I always want to kill it at every event I'm at. So I'm reading, I'm researching, and my research is not only limited to books, the internet, or people. Once I get the brief from a client, I'm looking out for signals. So I'm even as not little, but as much as a billboard. I'm checking everything for anything I can find that would help me, show up correct for that event. So you're reading, you're researching, and you're rehearsing, because you can't afford to just show up carelessly and just say, and no matter how many times I host an event, I don't take it for granted. So even if I've done an event 5 times or 5 years in a row, the 6th year, I'm still reading, researching, and rehearsing to be sure that I step up my game a little higher than the last performance, because you can't also be on the same level. You have to do better. There was an event I hosted in July this year, and I met someone who's been at a couple of my events, and he said something to me, a very senior person in Nigeria. He said, "This is the best I've seen you do," meaning he's watched me over time, and I keep getting better at it. And that's because I'm reading, I'm researching, and I'm also rehearsing. So make sure you do all of these things. And I really hope this has helped someone. As I wrap this all up, my story is summed up in dream. Your dreams are valid. Go after your dreams. I've always wanted to be this person. When I left banking, I just assumed, oh my God, how would I fit in this industry? Because there are people who have been there before me. But I did not stop my dream or cut my dream short because of people. It doesn't matter who is in your industry or who is not in your industry. What is your dream and what is your why? Dream, God can fund it. I always say this all the time. Dream, God can fund it. Secondly, don't give up on yourself. There'll be no's and there'll also be yeses. But don't let the no's stop you from pursuing the next opportunity. Oh, that actually means no. But anyway, don't let that no stop you from pursuing your next opportunity or the next dream. Put yourself out there. Make sure you are intentional about showcasing what you're capable of doing. People will trust you when they see the value you're able to offer. Thirdly, connect with people, as in make sure you go out and speak about what you're capable of doing. When I was doing red carpets, I still do red carpets now, but it has to be like a high profile red carpet. When I was in banking, and I also was in Accelerate TV as a full-time staff of Access Bank, I used to make sure that once I did a red carpet, I was connecting and networking with people in that room or on the carpet. I'll talk about myself after, not whilst the interview is going on, but after. I would never leave that event without making at least one new connection or telling people what I'm capable of doing, just so that people remember me. You must create top of mind awareness about your brand. Social media is free. Apart from buying data, make sure you're talking about what you're doing. Talk about your work, talk about your role, talk about lessons you learned from an event. Just put yourself out there and be very strategic about how you show up. Finally, show up correct any single time you show up. Never be found to be less than excellent. Let excellence be your watchword, and then people can trust you. I hope that some way, somehow, my story has inspired you to go after your dreams, to be an excellent person, and to keep showing up and showing out correct. Thank you once again, Damola, for having me. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, it's a wrap. I will take questions and answers some way, somehow. We've arranged that to happen. But thank you so much for having me. And once again, I'm deeply sorry for not being able to join you physically.